blood of our people are your lands kept safe.
I see in your eyes the same fear that will take the heart of me.
So do all who live to see such times.
By all that you hold dear, this good earth.
There's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got episode 4 for you for the Rings of Power, and let's just jump right in. We've got a lot to discuss. So we start this episode back in Numenor.
Yes, Queen Regent Muriel is meeting babies and their mothers. So she's doing the old politician go around kissing babies thing.
Yes. And this is also where we see her vision of what's to come, which is this great flood will basically wash Numenor into the sea. And then she wakes up. So yeah.
It's a dream sequence.
Yeah, it's a nice classic dream sequence to start us off. We kind of figured that already, just because there's been all this. She's been very cryptic about what's coming, and how Numenor might be doomed with this elf arriving, that kind of stuff. So we already knew something was happening, and now we just get a true visual representation of what she is worried about.
So Isildur's sister Iarion overhears the man who was attacked by Halbrand complaining about elves, and there seems to be some resentment for elves being immortal.
Yeah, and we've gotten a taste of this before, but this is the first time we start to really get an understanding about the differences between men and elves. Even though these men are descended from, they have some elf blood in their lineage. It's clear that they are different, and so they start talking about their heightened senses, they're in tune with the gods, that kind of stuff, and obviously the immortality. We've already got a taste of it from the Queen as well. We actually hear that again at some point in the episode about the white tree that they have when the petals fall. That's a reminder of the elves' oversight of Numenor. Mm-hmm. So it's not just this group of men, but I think with this new elf Galadriel on their shores, they are getting kind of upset and frustrated at how close Galadriel is allowed to be to the Queen.
Mm-hmm. Then you have the Queen's advisor and his Tar Pharazôn, right?
Yes,
that's his name. And his son the son informs his dad that there's something going on in the town square with the speeches going on.
Yeah, it's like rabble.
Yeah. So the advisor intervenes, and he gives a speech that reassures the people.
Yeah, it's a kind of a weird speech. He kind of makes some points that I made about how they have ties to the elves, and they have had an alliance with the elves for many years, even though they're not currently working with the elves in any way. That still holds, and there's no reason to kind of upset the balance, that kind of stuff. He has a weird moment where it's a bit of a callback. He has by the calluses on my hands. I thought that was strange. He has no calluses. I mean, he doesn't go that far. I would appreciate the commitment to it a bit more if he did. He just kind of says, like, by the calluses of my hands, we won't let, like, we will raise Numenor up to glory, that kind of stuff. And it just, like, it's a weird, like, I'm fine with having those callbacks, but that is a weird moment for me because it doesn't make sense. And it's not in a moment where you need something like that to come in.
There was another one. I don't even remember where it was.
I'm gonna go through and make a compilation of them because
there's a scattered and leaderless somewhere in here.
Yep, and there's I know of what you speak or something like that. It's when Theo is talking to the old man. We'll get there.
We will get there.
Yeah.
So we're
So we've calmed. Well, they've calmed the rabble down for now, but there is this trust going around in Numenor, and we end up with the queen, and she's talking with Galadriel again. Galadriel once again is making these crazy demands.
You forgot about the advisor's son going over and flirting with.
Oh, okay. We want to touch on this. I don't even don't even care about this guy. Okay, yeah. So this guy, I will say to the casual female viewers out there, this guy is super creepy. That is my notes on it. That is also the notes I've received from other people, female viewers who just hate this guy. So, this guy has nothing to offer. He's super creepy. His lines are terrible. Like they're good lines for a creepy person. So if that's what they're going for, they nailed it.
Okay.
So do you have a different take on this guy?
No, I don't. I don't have a take at all. I'm just commenting on what happened.
Yeah. So he comes over. He's flirting with her. Is it supposed to be that like because she is Elendil's daughter that she's sought after, or is it just this guy's creepy? I'm not really sure yet.
He's just a new girl who's kind of good looking. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay.
See what I can do here.
Well, that's like because there's something going on here with Elendil and his lineage and his house because, his son wants to do this quest to the west of Numenor or something like that, and Elendil is always talking about how they have to bring honor to their house. So I don't know if part of her is part of the reason he's flirting with her is because she has some status or something like that. I
really think they're just going teen drama. That's all they're doing. She's a new she's a freshman at college, and there has to be a love interest. That's what is going on.
Is this? Do you think this guy? They're gonna try to turn this guy into the love interest? Is that the idea?
For her, yeah.
No way. He comes on way too strong and way too creepy.
Anyway, we said Galadriel asks Muriel to fight for the Southland.
Yeah, she does this again. She makes these. I mean, she's a little bit better this time around. She's not as demanding, but it still comes across as like an order almost.
Yeah. So I wrote, in the spirit of nerdrotic, I wrote, Galadriel demands to speak to the manager.
Yeah.
So there's a king who's the Queen Regent's father. But she says it in a way, and this was a callback. She says regent, the same way Gandalf says steward.
Yes.
To Denethor. That was
which is something that I had picked up on when we first were introduced to this character, because I was like, regent of whom? Like you're someone is still in charge over you, but they're either unable to because of their age, either they're too old or too young, or they're sick or incapacitated.
And we did bring that up because we thought, well, it can't be an older one, because then she would be Princess Regent.
Yeah, no. That's what exactly.
So I wonder if there's a nomenclature error.
Well,
or if I just don't understand.
Well, so yeah, it's either the nomenclature error and this is something that once I understood what was going on, I kind of came up with this as a way out for the creators here. But perhaps because no one has seen the king in person in years, he is presumed dead almost, and so they have named her queen, but she maintains that he's still alive, so she's the one that keeps adding regent to her own title. But
so this is a lot of people were upset because in the lore, Muriel never becomes queen.
Right.
So this actually kind of solves that.
Yes.
She's technically not the ruler.
That's what I was thinking. The same thing. Like people got all excited and started yelling about how she's the queen when she's not the queen. Mm-hmm. You know, it's as if people heard that, you know, there's going to be someone who's going to be the king of Gondor. Well, he's not the king.
That's not Aragorn. That's not Aragorn.
Yeah, that's not Aragorn. That's just the steward. Well, yeah, he calls himself the king essentially because he's crazy, and she's calling herself Queen Regent because I don't know, Numenor's got weird title stuff that doesn't make too much sense. But yeah, so she's not the queen. She is the Queen Regent or princess. I would just call her the regent. I don't know. Like people maybe just shorten it to queen. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm over it. I don't really care too much about what she's called. It is interesting to me that Galadriel knows like this whole thing about how the father hasn't been seen in years. Maybe she picked it up on her horse ride the other day with Elendil, but
Perhaps, yeah.
yeah.
So we're back to Isildur, and he's distracted. He hears that whispering again from
Yeah,
the
this
west.
man, Isildur, he is not my favorite character. He's got like a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was deliberate in the first bout of boating with Isildur, but this time it's for sure deliberate. He just straight up is like, I can't quit because my father will basically say no, you're back in. But if I get fired, then no one can put me back in because I'm clearly a danger to the crew, which he is. Like he almost kills his. These are his friends, and they almost die. Like one guy almost goes overboard because Isildur's like, I'm just gonna screw this up.
And he gets them all fired. They're all pissed off at him.
Yeah,
Rightfully so.
why are they all fired though? Because without those two guys being really quick to grab that rope and save the ship, like the ship might have had some trouble. It's just Isildur that deliberately sabotaged the journey. I don't know why these other two guys are in trouble at all.
Yeah, it's not really fair.
There's a lot of that weird kind of like, I don't know. It's almost like this guy knows that Isildur wants to get off the ship, so he's like, as punishment, it's not enough to just kick Isildur off. I have to hurt his friends to teach him a lesson. But it's like this really weird form of justice, and I'm not a big fan of it. It's kind of weird. This
Yeah,
captain.
and then the friends chime in saying, going on again about your dead mother and the West being the real Numenor. That's all I really wrote.
Yeah, and then this is sort of what I was getting at earlier. Like, there's some sort of thing with Isildur has this thing about West Numenor, which is where the Queen Regent lives. But it's like, I don't know what his fascination is with it. Elendil comes in the first episode. Elendil comes back, or the second episode. Elendil comes back and he's like, "Hey, I was just there, and we're not well received there. People distrust us. They don't like me because I brought an elf. So like, there's some issues going west. But Isildur's just has this drive, and it's not clear yet for why he's so eager to get west. And he like, it's almost like he's already being corrupted. You know what I mean? Now, some people think Halbrand is either Sauron or some sort of evil leader or person that's going to help bring about the downfall of Numenor. Perhaps Isildur is sensing that. I don't know, because he's hearing a voice in his head when he looks at the land, and it's kind of giving me those like whispery vibes from The Ring from Peter Jackson's trilogy.
Yeah. And then we meet Adar.
Yes. This is an interesting scene to me, because the orcs behave in a way that I haven't seen them behave before, where they bow down, and almost treat this guy better than I've seen them treat like Saruman or any of the leaders of the orcs that we saw in Peter Jackson's movies.
Yeah,
Like,
and that dying orc looks really happy to see him.
yeah, like he's glad he's survived long enough to see this person or this creature, who then eases his suffering. And it's just, I don't know what's going on. This guy clearly looks elfish to me.
He's an elf for sure.
He's for sure an elf.
Some scarring on his face. But
There's scarring on his face, but he's got all the other features of an elf. The pointy ears. He's got pointy ears. He's got the kind of a pale complexion of some of the other elf types. Obviously, I'm not sure if that plays into it. Like, he's clearly got a very pale complexion, though. Whether that's from staying underground for so long with these orcs or what, but
Yeah. And we learn Adar means father in
yes,
Elvish.
yeah, and Arondir wants to know why the orcs call him father, and so we might have like that might be a clue as to how orcs are created. Like maybe this guy's creating orcs. He does have his own cryptic message about how like everything that he basically tells Arondir everything you think you know about the world and the people in charge of it and how it's supposed to go, it's all wrong. And
yeah, that's when this Nerderotic chimes in here and says, "That's right, we are all being lied to."
Well, so here's the thing. So part of me is like, okay, it's kind of neat to think about the orcs maybe not being evil and simply being misguided by people like Adar here. But on the other hand, I kind of much rather them be almost like mindless killing evil things, because that allows this classical good versus evil story to flourish. Once we start getting into the weeds, I mean, essentially, if the story plays out the way some people theorize, Galadriel, who gets rescued by Sauron, brings Sauron to Numenor. He then corrupts Numenor from within. And meanwhile, this guy is teaching us that orcs aren't all bad. Like, you know what I mean? It gets really confusing as to like what's even supposed to happen here. Like, who are we actually supposed to root for? And then it kind of becomes one of these more, strategical political shows like Game of Thrones, where as in Peter Jackson's trilogy, it's pretty clear that like the orcs are just straight up evil because they are evil things. Like they are almost like demons. Demons are just evil by nature in a way. So I'm interested to see where this goes, but I am kind of worried that we might get bogged down in the weeds a bit. I do like this character though, because this character does have like a weird test for Arondir here, right? So he could just kill Arondir, and Arondir is thinking of sacrificing himself because Arondir knows if I kill Adar here, I'm dead. Like the orcs are never going to let me out. I'm gonna get killed the instant an orc comes looking for Adar. But Adar gives him a choice, essentially. Adar says, "Look, I want you to deliver a message to the people who have gone to seek refuge in the Watchtower." And so Arondir has this choice of do I actually go and bring this message to them and not take this chance to kill perhaps Sauron himself, for all we know, right? Like for all anyone knows.
This is Sauron.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's leading a band of orcs. At the very least, you'd be cutting the orcs, at least this group of orcs' head off right now if you kill this guy. But Arondir also doesn't want to lose what he has with Bronwyn. I wish we had more time with this, to be honest. I think there's a cool setup here. It's just we cut away from this so quickly, right? We cut away after this, and we don't get to see Arondir's immediate reactions. We don't get to see him kind of struggle with this decision. I kind of wish we had a little bit more there, to be honest. I thought that conversation could have gone on longer, and we could have seen Arondir kind of thinking about what to do here. Because then we just cut away to Bronwyn, which, I mean, that's who he's thinking about. So it's a good place to go next. But it's implied with that cut, and we find out later that he makes a quick decision to, I'm going to not kill Adar and just go back to see Bronwyn. So,
well, I think that was the right decision anyway.
Me too, but I just wish he would struggle with it.
Their goal was always to get out and then go tell, Gil-galad and all the other elves what's going on here.
That's true. And he, even though his group was essentially reassigned or taken off of this watchtower, he was deciding to leave the elves and go be with Bronwyn. So at the end of the day, he had already kind of made this choice, in a way, initially when he left the elves.
Do elves, when they choose to, this is a tangent, but when elves decide to be with a human, like romantically bind themselves to them, they all become mortal?
No,
Like
that's
when
not. That's Peter Jackson adding that, which I like. I think that it gives it a bit more flair, but that's not, from my understanding, that is not what it's like in the
necessarily
books.
the case.
That's right.
Okay.
But I actually think it adds to Arwen's story, that she essentially gives up her own immortality to convince her father to help Aragorn, and in a way help save the day. So I actually think it really gives Arwen, her story, much more weight than it is in the books. So I think it's a nice twist for Peter Jackson to make. I don't know what they've done. I don't know what they're gonna do in this show yet. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue that version or if they go to the books and try to pick up on that lore. Either way, people are going to be mad because it's not going to be consistent. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So either way, they're not going to please everyone. I actually hope they do choose Peter Jackson's way. I think when you're telling it in a visual story, I think it really helps give characters more to think about when they're risking a lot by choosing to love someone like that. And I think that makes it more powerful.
Yeah.
But anyway, we jump back to this watchtower where a lot of people have been saved. They say something like they've scoured like all these surrounding villages, and like this is everybody who's left alive. I'm glad we get back to this tavern guy. He's one of my favorite actors in this show. I think he plays his part beautifully. He's just so like rough around the edges. He says something though that I don't like about him. So they have like 5 potatoes to feed like, I don't know, 200 people. And and Bronwyn is like, I have an idea. We'll cut our rations. And I'm like, well, you're already at 0.02% of a potato. So how much lower can you go? He goes, you're not cutting my rations. Like, you can't have a whole potato. There's 200 people. They're gonna murder you for that potato. I don't know what, like this like these people, they brought no food when they left.
No,
And-
they should. I mean, it makes no sense. They had time. They
Yeah.
had a whole night. They had a whole like day and night to pack.
We saw them carrying stuff. I don't understand what that stuff was if it wasn't food.
Exactly.
And so we find out that they have no food. People are scared to leave the watchtower. I guess understandably so. There's orcs and whatnot. Bronwyn has like just taken charge, and this is an interesting political story because, yeah, why should she be in charge? She essentially argues a decent point that she's the one that discovered the orcs, came back and warned people, and then when they didn't listen, went and killed an orc and brought them the head. So she's like, therefore I should lead. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, it's other than this tavern guy who I like, I don't really know who else is going to lead these people because no one else believed her. Everyone else is kind of scared. Like, you can't have people who are just scared to do anything be in charge. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, Theo convinces Rowan to go back to the town to get food from Waldreg's cellar.
Yeah, after he was told no. So Bronwyn did say, no, we're going to send the hunters back out and get a couple more rabbits. Theo makes a good point that, like, you know, we've already tried that. There are no more rabbits. Stop taking this, you know, stop doing the easy and safe thing. I actually like Theo's plan. But yeah, he convinces his friend to come with him on this scavenger hunt of food at the nearest town. It proves fruitful. Like, so.
Yeah, there's dead livestock everywhere.
Yes.
And then, yeah, they get the food, but then Theo decides to go into this tavern.
Yeah. And it's weird. Like, they have a whole wheelbarrow full, and he's already carrying 3 sacks of food.
Yeah, he can't
So
carry much more.
I'm not sure what else he can find in there. And in
Yeah.
fact, he drops his sacks to go into that tavern. So I don't even know how he plans to carry all that food back. Maybe he's hoping to find more wheelbarrows or something. But
Yeah.
he goes into this tavern. I don't know why, to be honest. This is a weird part to me. Like if there was something in here that was like, I don't know, calling to him, maybe that would make more sense, but there's nothing to call him to because he has the sword. So I'm not really sure why he goes in here to begin with.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it takes the orcs so long. So the orcs attack him
Yeah,
while
it gets
he's
dark side. It
yeah.
gets dark suddenly with.
Well,
the cloud or
yeah. So like clouds come over, but it's already dark in the hut. You know what I mean? So this is something I've heard people talk about. Maybe we can talk a little bit about it. But the orcs not liking the sun, obviously that's established in both Tolkien and in Peter Jackson's films. So it is a thing. But what exactly is it? Are they vampires? Like, do they burn in the sun? In Tolkien's words, it's more like they feel lightheaded, they get physically weak, and they get sick.
yeah, in this it looks like sun skin damage.
Yeah. So here it almost looks like vampires or like going in the sun severely injures them.
Yeah.
Either way, they're in this hut, so I'm not sure why it takes them so long to react to the presence of Theo. But yeah, you're right. So the clouds come over. And that's the other thing. If it's just cloudy, are they fine? Or
I think
or
so,
are they
yeah.
still feeling a bit of the effects, but like they can push through it?
Yeah, I think cloud. As long as there's cloud cover, it's
Yeah.
fine.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so they kind of play a little they kind of play a little hide and seek with Theo, but then they pop out of the shadows and attack him.
Yeah, he gets slashed. He gets straight up slashed.
Yeah, like
And
twice.
then
So he gets actually
look-
one hits his bag that he's carrying and one hits his leg.
Yeah. And he
Um,
licks the blood. Young
yeah.
blood.
Which I like. I like that. It's not a direct callback, but like this idea that orcs really like fresh meat, fresh
Mhm.
young blood. Yeah, I like that.
So Theo like extends the sword basically. Like you jab it into your forearm. and
Well,
then-
so first, like, so he blocks an attack, or does he? Like, it's unclear
I don't.
what.
It's unclear if it actually blocked or if the orc's just shocked to see it.
Yeah, so like I was looking back at it, and I'm like, it kind of looks like a block, but I don't know if it is a
Yeah.
block. That's interesting because there's no blade, so it's like how is it blocking when it's not been activated yet?
Maybe
so
it's just in the unseen realm or something.
I think you're right. I don't like. I'm looking at it again right now. I don't think it's a block. I think the orc sees it and stops his slash. Like really quick reaction timing for that orc though.
In hindsight, the orc should have just slashed him. Then he would have had the sword.
Well, that's why it's so confusing because they were looking for the sword. There it is. He then lets him activate it.
Yeah.
So he holds it out. He's like, I've got this sword. He then plunges it into his arm. Now, you don't have to plunge it into your arm. I think it just needs some blood. Like, you just need to get some blood on it. The sword then activates. The orc then freaks out and, like, reaches his hand for it and gets attacked. This orc is really dumb. I don't understand how this happened.
Yeah, did he cut a finger off the orc?
Yeah, I think so. Like, he's...
The
so
orc lost a finger.
the orc is reaching his hand out, and then Theo just slashes at him, and then Theo jumps into the well, and again, there's some weird, like, the orcs are really strange here because they are looking around. He couldn't have gone far, and they don't look in this well, and then when they do, it's like a brief glance into the well to
Yes.
like they don't like. He could be under the water, but they don't wait long enough to see if he will come up again. So yeah, just an all around strange. I mean, the orcs are supposed to be dumb, I guess, but just I don't know. They're really dumb at finding this weapon that's literally right there. Like they have this guy dead to rights.
So we go back to the dwarves and the elves finally, which we missed. We didn't get any of last episode.
Yeah.
Uh, so it seems the dwarves are helping to build the tower now, and Celebrimbor says Elrond's father told him that his future would depend on his son one day, and then he thinks Durin is hiding something.
Yeah. So again, it's like we've done a bit of a time jump, I guess, but not that much because Galadriel is still just in Numenor. So I don't know how much time has passed, but they actually have made pretty good progress on this thing so far.
Yeah.
And now I know there's a time crunch on this because he needs it done by spring for some reason. I know there's a bunch of lore people talking about it, but they haven't explained the reason in the show, so I can't really get into it. But yeah, there's a weird, like, you've got Celebrimbor on one hand, kind of saying the dwarves might be up to something. You've got Durin the third, or sorry, Durin the fourth, saying that Elrond might be up to something, or Celebrimbor might be up to something. So like both sides are not really trusting each other, and then we're stuck with just the two friends of the group, trying to work it out between the two of them.
Yep. And then Elrond goes to visit Disa, and now this is actually another thing because again, these aren't. My understanding is these two geographies aren't necessarily that close to each other, so they just kind of time jump Elrond
Yeah.
traveling there.
Yeah, so this is something that I actually do have an issue with in the show because I mean I'm gonna be consistent. My criticism of the last few seasons of Game of Thrones, I had the same thing, where you can't say, "Oh, I'll go talk to this person," and then in the next scene be doing it, because it wrongly suggests they're like in the next room or like the next town, which is like 5 minutes down the road. Like you said, this is a long journey, and we can't cut between this and 5 minutes when Theo's in a well. You know what I mean? Like we can't. It assumes that this is happening like in 5 minute increments almost, which is just ridiculous. Because not only that, we get this dialogue here where he shows up, and apparently Durin the fourth is on a mining excavation, which takes a long time to complete, and so it's like, so how much time has passed since Elrond left the dwarves initially to go talk to Celebrimbor, then comes back to talk to Durin again, but Durin is away. You know what I mean? Like, so we have no concept of how long that's been, and so it's really struggling to keep up with that.
So it's not super far, but it's still a bit of a walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the map now. It's relatively close in terms of
Yeah.
maps, but it's not super close.
But-
It's a day and a half walk probably.
Well, so based on the map that they showed, it kind of looked almost like the distance between Rivendell and Moria.
I think it is closer than Rivendell.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But
So, because like that journey took, I mean, there was a time jump, but it was strategically done by Peter Jackson, where he showed them like walking through various terrain and then climbing a mountain. So like we did get a concept that like time is happening. Like these guys have been walking for a while to get to this place. Whereas here we're literally cutting between scenes of him talking to Celebrimbor and then talking to a dwarf, like back to back, like right away. So it's there is just no concept of that distance. So we then get a taste of the old elf ears. What do your elf ears hear? So he's I mean, these are gigantic halls.
Oh, I mean, I had a good laugh at that too because Disa straight up says that, "Oh, I made sure he was escorted out. He wasn't escorted out."
No, he's legit just over there. You could see him in the background.
Yeah, I mean, she says he's mining quartz. We find out that she lied, and then Disa tells Durin that Elrond was escorted out, And no, Elrond's just kind of wandering around.
No, yeah, like
Even those dwarfs come up to him like, "Are you lost?" Stuff. It's like, "No, I know exactly where I'm going."
yeah, the dwarves
And they don't question that at all.
no, and he's legit. It's not even. I don't even think it would be hard for him to hear this because depending on where he is, it's made it look like he's in this great, it's like this great passage underground that is very open. You could probably hear voices carry a long ways. Like I don't even know if this is magical elf ears that at this point. Like this is just him being in this gigantic chasm, overhearing the king and queen, or I guess the prince and princess, talk about what they're up to. Like they're talking right in the middle of this open, massive space. Why aren't they discussing this in their private chambers? So yeah, that's my only weird thing about these dwarves is they sometimes like do goofy stuff like that. And I will say also, you brought up these dwarven soldiers that come up to Elrond. I have heard from some casual fans that they don't like the look of the dwarf soldiers. They say they kind of like look like Oompa Loompas and they kind of like waddle around, and they would not be effective in combat because they're kind of like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they don't.
they
do
don't
they?
look
Yeah.
very stable. They don't look like they could really handle that axe that they're carrying.
So it'd be like, I think it'd be like 100 kilometers for that Elrond would have had walked from Aragion to Khazad-dûm. I just looked at the map. There's a little scale, and I just kind of did a little quick measurement, and like rounding quite a bit. But yeah, it's like 100 kilometers.
Oh, okay. That is quite a journey on foot. Perhaps they did have transportation, but still, you're looking at like this is all I'm saying is like they should have more scenes happen in between, so that it doesn't feel like it's like the same day. Which is what it feels like. It literally feels like Celebrimbor told him to go talk to Durin, and then he went across the hall of this palace and talked to Durin. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like I just need a little bit more time between scenes to get my bearings. So anyway, Elrond finds out that they're up to something. This is such a weird side plot. So I don't know, like I don't even know how to like talk about this because it's not that insane. It's not like some cryptic ancient evil. It's just the dwarves are mining mithril, and they're worried that the elves were sent here to take it, but Elrond doesn't even know what mithril is. So it's
Gray glitter. That was new to me. But I
yeah,
guess it makes sense because Mithrandir is Grey Wanderer, so
yeah,
Myth is gray.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's just like this weird. It's like this cryptic thing that was just there to test their friendship once again, um, and it's kind of it doesn't end up being that big a deal, at least not yet, because the two guys that are communicating, Elrond and Durin the Fourth, they are friends, and Elrond is sincere. As far as we know, Elrond has no idea what this stuff is, and he does not know that his job, if it is, turns out that the elves do want this, Elrond has no idea about that. He was just sent here to get the dwarves to come help build some stuff for Celebrimbor. So it's there's no evil within Elrond's
No, he
perceptions
doesn't
here.
care.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, I mean, this is going back. What did you think of them like not showing their kids again? Because they did in that previous episode when we saw Disa and Durin the Fourth's kids. They were like wearing those like big helmet things. You didn't see them, and this time she's like talking to them through the room. So we still haven't seen a dwarf kid yet. Do you know what? Do you know why they haven't done any idea? Any theories as to why they haven't shown us?
I'm
these kids?
sure that you've found some theories. My guess would be that they don't know which direction to take the kids. Like, do they
Yeah.
spring up from holes in the ground with beards fully intact, or do they have to grow?
Yeah. Do these kids have beards? That's a good question.
See, this is how you do it. If you don't want to get criticism, never show them.
That might be it. Yeah.
I just figured like there's no real need for like other than seeing them, I mean, it would be a neat, a neat thing to have um, within the story. I guess that's just there's no need to get those actors involved when really the whole thing is to get Elrond and Durin the Fourth together. Um, so yeah, that was my thought. But why? Have you heard something that why they wouldn't show the
No,
kids?
I don't know why, but I do. There must be a reason. I
I
don't
think
know.
that I think that scene was a little bit more serious. The kids are more of kind of goofy and to kind of show like a more family wholesomeness. But in that scene, Disa lies, straight up lies about everything, like what Durin's up to, how to mine for quartz, like everything.
Hmm.
So that scene was a lot more intense, and I just don't think having kids running around the table. Well, in fact, she yells at them to shut up while she can talk to Elrond. So we actually see a bit of a character shift there, one that I was not expecting. Not sure I like it on her character, but we'll see how it plays out. Because before I kind of thought she was more more of this jovial dwarf that we've been accustomed to, and she then has this kind of harshness to her that she unleashes on her kids, and then she has this deceitful, like she straight up lies unflinchingly to Elrond, all because her husband asked her to, even though she trusts Elrond and she knows her husband trusts Elrond, so she knows there's no reason to lie to him, and she just does it anyway. um So we didn't really. I kind of wish we got a scene beforehand where she was talking with Durin, and they were like, "We're gonna have to lie to Elrond. I don't like it." And you know what I mean. Like I kind of wish we got a little bit more so that we could share in her frustration at needing to lie. So that's my only thing. Is like this is it's weird though. It feels like we've done a big time jump here because a lot of stuff has progressed and we just never got the scenes in between. But we get another one of these elf versus dwarf things going on. One casual viewer said to me that they're trying too hard to make this Gimli and Legolas 2.0. What do you think about that? Do you see it? And I mean, I think anyone can at least see that.
I mean, it's parallel. It's
Yeah.
a dwarf. I mean, the Gimli and Legolas, you get to see their relationship go from like more hostile, unfriendly anyway, to close.
True.
Elrond and Durin. I guess they're starting off. They were friends, but then Durin's hostile, and now maybe he's starting to grow trust for him again.
You're right. You're right. So I think you're right. There's a parallel, but the difference is that Elrond, we're getting a bit more of an elf, like the nature of elves in this relationship, because Elrond is still struggling with this idea of not all creatures perceive the world the same way, and so he is still in his heart like best friends with this guy, and this guy kind of is hesitant to trust him again because it's been so long for him. And so we're really getting only like a one-way aggression from Durin here. Yet there still is this idea that they're not quite like they were friends. They had a bit of a falling out, and they're still trying to build back that trust. And so I think that's where this perception of Legolas and Gimli 2.0 comes from, where we're seeing the build up of this friendship, even though we know that they started out as friends to begin with, but um, it is different.
Elrond and Legolas have very different temperaments.
Yes, that's
too.
the big difference here, is that Legolas started out almost at the same level of animosity that Gimli had. I would say they were about the same. I mean, Gimli obviously is the one that yells, "I'll be dead before I see the ring in the hands of an elf." Perhaps the elves were yelling something similar in Elvish, for all we know. So, they start out on equal terms of being angry at each other's race, whereas here, I don't think either one cares too much about the race. This is more of a personal, grudge is the wrong word, but like a personal hostility where Durin is like, it's been 20 years. I still, like, you just show up at my door and ask us to help you build some stuff. I don't know if I can trust you. And Elrond doesn't get it. He still doesn't quite understand, like, how is this such an issue? He's slowly learning. He makes a joke here about how the reason he's here is because 20 years is far too long to be away from your friend. It's not a joke. It's actually a nice sentiment because he's starting to understand, like, 20 years is a big deal for other beings. And so I need it to be a big deal for me too. Like, I need to know this if I'm going to truly understand dwarves, humans, hobbits eventually. So I really like Elrond in this show is really nice.
Because even if you think about it, like, Elrond and Galadriel are like close, good friends, and they haven't seen each other in like 200 years.
Right. So like that's why he's so confused. It's only been 20 years. He's like, 20 years. That's like nothing. Like, I haven't seen some of my best friends in hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's starting to understand this, and I wonder how this will play out as the series progresses, because I'm assuming eventually he might meet up with Isildur in some way, and we might get a bit more of this, like, how long has it been kind of thing, because obviously with Isildur being more human, he's gonna even feel it more than dwarves do, because dwarves live longer than humans here, and so it'll be interesting to see how Elrond has to kind of understand from a different perspective, because he straight up will never understand it because he's immortal. So he has to just learn how these other beings exist and how they perceive each other. But yeah, we get this mithril reveal, which we all kind of figured it was. Again, I don't know why the dwarves, I mean, so Elf shows up 20 years later and says, "Hey, help me build this forge." I don't know why the dwarves suddenly go, they're here to steal the mithril. You know what I mean? Like, what is the plan here? Take the dwarven workers hostage and trade them for mithril? Like, what do they think the elf plan is? You know what I mean? The elves have shown no interest in the mithril. Elrond straight up does not know about it, and I fully believe that from this character. Like, if this character turns out to be evil, like if Elrond is like a big twist.
even Elrond, when he sees, like, what is this stuff?
Yeah,
he's
like,
kind of jovial about it. He doesn't care.
Yeah,
he's like opens his. Oh, what is this stuff?
Yeah, like he not only that, it doesn't even seem like he's that impressed by it. Now maybe that was bad acting, although I really like this actor. Maybe it was bad acting or bad directing. Either way, it almost seems like you said that, like, oh, what is it? It's kind of neat. It's got the light. It almost looks like the light is shining from within. It's kind of cool. Here you go.
and he goes to give it back. No, keep it as a token of our friendship. Keep
this hunk of rock that you guys think that we're trying to steal from you. Okay.
I'll keep it.
Now, what would be interesting is if Elrond. Now, Elrond has already. So here's something that a fan pointed out to me, that if Elrond gave his word, he would never tell anyone about Mithril. However, Durin the Fourth gives him a piece of Mithril. If someone were to go snooping or accidentally stumble upon the mithril,
what is this stuff?
They ask him, what is this stuff? What is he supposed to say? If he just says it's like some new ore the dwarves found, is that breaking his oath? Like, you know what I mean?
No idea. Yeah,
so like, where does this oath? I mean, I fully believe Elrond is going to uphold this oath to the best of his ability. But if someone just comes across this, or if it drops out of his pouch accidentally,
it's like, oh, it's just a neat rock I found.
Yeah. So the theory I've heard from someone who has no idea about Tolkien, does not know that the Silmarillion exists, their thoughts are, this is how Celebrimbor will find out about Mithril and then become evil.
But he doesn't become evil, right? I don't think so. But
I mean, who knows what they're gonna do with these characters? I mean, I personally would like him to become evil because I hate the actor playing him. So I'd be fine with that. Let's kill this guy off. Elrond can make the rings for all I care. So yeah, that's the theory, is that the elves aren't actually involved in scheming for Mithril, but this will reveal to them that it exists, and some of them will want it, and then they will start scheming. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Maybe there will be some schemes.
I mean, I don't
Um,
like, it's such a weird thing. Like, I don't know why we're dealing with these schemes here when there's enough animosity between dwarves and elves that these two could try to bridge by just going and talking with others instead of each other. Like, they're constantly like fighting each other a little bit, and it's like,
Right.
obviously Celebrimbor doesn't seem to hate dwarves, because he was on board right away when Elrond was like, hey, let's go get some dwarves to help. But I know some elves don't trust dwarves. I mean, most dwarves don't trust elves. In fact, almost nobody trusts elves, which is pretty clear. But I feel like there'd be more to do than just talk about Mithril. But I know Mithril, it's a nice inclusion, because that was a very pivotal point in Peter Jackson's trilogy. Without the Mithril, Frodo is dead, straight up dead. So this is a nice tying it in. But we spend so much time with this. Like, this is a large chunk of this episode is talking about Mithril with these two guys.
Yeah. Anyway, Mithril is very perilous to mine, so part of it they're keeping a secret from Durin the Third, Durin Senior.
That's right. So yeah, Durin the Third is mining it very cautiously, like in small amounts, in very safe passages, and it was Durin the Fourth who decided, I'm going to send a group of dwarves into a more dangerous area of the mine to mine it. And then there is a I don't even know what happens. Is it an earthquake, or is it just like a cave-in, just a random cave-in?
Well, I think it's in a cave-in, but there's some question of, could that be the Balrog?
Well, that's what I was thinking. So we see the ground start to shake, and then there's a cave-in, and Durin is yelling about how there's 4 dwarves down there that are in trouble. And I was like, oh, like maybe they've dug too deep. But it seems, well, yeah, definitely greedily. I mean, we like the fact that their first assumption was that elves were here to steal Mithril. that kind of already proves that they're greedy. Like, they legit have no trust in people just showing up. But yeah, if the Balrog does show up, like, that seems a bit.
Well, it's lore breaking because the Balrog doesn't come into the Third Age, apparently.
Right, like, because the Balrog is essentially the same as the wizards, so the Balrog is going to come around the same time as them.
Well, no, the Balrog's been there since the first. So the Balrogs were involved with Morgoth in the First Age, and a lot of them were killed in that war. But this one, like, wandered and went to sleep in Moria, and he's gonna sleep throughout the entire Second Age. But then he gets waken up in the Third Age by the dwarfs.
Oh, so yeah, then that would definitely be weird if he just shows up. Because if he shows up here, what are the door? Like, the doors are done, right? Like, we can't like stay here. We have to.
Well, yeah, they do they would lose.
Yeah.
I mean, in the lore, they do lose to the Balrog, but it's not supposed to come until the Third Age.
Right.
But they might not follow that, though.
True.
Or they do, and then it just goes back to sleep, and then it wakes up again in the Third Age. Maybe they could do that.
Oh yeah, or maybe maybe they seal it off in a certain section of the mountain. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, we leave the dwarves for now as we go back to Numenor. We get a nice overview of the city here. It does have a very what's the word I'm looking for? Mediterranean vibe going for it. So when you were saying the other day about it being more of a symbol of Atlantis, I think that's definitely something that the
other thing it reminded me, I mean, obviously I think George R.R. Martin is taking it from this too, but it could be like, you can almost think of it as like a Valyria from
yes,
the Doom of Valyria. And
yeah, no, I think Martin definitely took it. I mean, we know he took inspiration from this. There's a Mount Doom on his map. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's
he
amazing.
because he actually had a nice little interview comment where he's like, when you're designing these maps, eventually you just run out of your own names for mountains, and so you just start picking mountains that from from books you've read. And he's like,
He hasn't ended.
because he's like, that section of the map I'm not even gonna deal with, so I'll just start calling stuff random stuff. Like he's got a few mountains there that are named after craters like on the moon or Mars and that kind of stuff. So just like random, he's like, I'm not gonna think too hard about it because it's way over there. I'm not gonna deal with it.
Yeah.
We get
Well,
this
we get it.
creepy
Oh,
guy.
you go.
We get this creepy guy here.
Well, I wrote, do we ship Aarion and Advisor's son?
No.
And I'm thinking it, you don't.
Do you?
No, I don't. Well, he offers to help her clean.
What I will say, so I don't ship them. I don't think anyone should. I think this guy's coming on way too strong and not taking the hint. But what I will say is, after their little banter, in fact, he has. I said it's a quick line. Like it's kind of, he's kind of smart because he comes up with this line pretty quickly on the spot. He said, so she's like, I'm not in the habit of kind of going on dates with strangers and strange guys. And she's like, and he goes, well, if I see any around, I'll let you know. That's a pretty good line, but it's still creepy. Now, at the end of that banter, he takes the bucket and rag to go do some scrubbing. She smiles as if like it's working.
She's into it.
Yeah, so she's totally getting into it. It's such a strange direction to go. I mean, all those people who are saying like this is woke or whatever. I mean, this right here, not woke. I'm just gonna say straight up, this is falling back into 90s crapola. Like douchebag guy comes up, is a douchebag, gets the girl because he's a douchebag. Like that's basically what we're watching here. So there you go for all those people who want to get back to the good old days. We then find Galadriel in prison for sedition, which I mean, yeah,
she's just pacing.
She's pacing.
I wrote, she's not very bright. She does not clue. She does not clue in to that she doesn't get locked up until she asks for the king. She doesn't really know why she's in jail.
Yeah, Halbrand has to explain it to
and
her.
It's so obvious. This is the thing that like put the queen over the edge.
Yeah,
made her lock her up.
Yeah. Now Halbrand here though, in doing his weird, game of charades, he kind of reveals his own intelligence. Like he is a smart person. And we saw it come out a little bit when he addressed the queen initially. He was a mediating voice between the two at the time. And now here he is explaining how you get people to do stuff for you, which is something that a Sauron might say.
Yeah.
So
yes, exactly.
This is not something an Aragorn would say for like, you know what I mean? Like, so we would never hear this kind of dialogue from someone who's supposed to be Aragorn. This is not how Aragorn or that type of person would think. So this is potentially another hint at Sauron or some.
Feels foul. Seems fair, but feels foul.
Something is off with this guy. I don't know if he's actually Sauron or if he is just heir to the kingdom that was allied with Morgoth. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there's, because we'll get to it later, but I think there's also potentially some it's not evil necessarily, but there's just some like wanting to get back to the way things were mentality between the people of the Southlands, and he might have that in him as well. You know what I mean? Like because we're gonna see later on that some of the people still believe that they can rise up with Sauron, the new Morgoth, essentially. And so I don't know if he's just a prince of the land that is running from that pressure of leading his people to join Sauron, or if he is Sauron. Like there's so many directions that this guy could go. I still don't understand if it is Sauron why he saved Galadriel in the first place. I still don't understand that.
Because he's toying with her.
But why? She's not even she doesn't need him to toy with her. She'll toy with herself. She threw herself in jail.
Yeah, I know.
He was
but he
in
doesn't want her
jail.
to die. He doesn't want her to die. She would have literally died.
So he was so he was in jail this whole time, and she's been off gallivanting all over Numenor. Like, imagine if she discovered that he was, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a risky plan.
Hmm.
So he's completely content, I guess, if he is Sauron, to toy with her in this weird way, where basically she has to come visit him in jail for him to do anything. And even when she does, he helps her. So he's not even I don't see the toying part.
Well, he wants to build the trust so he can get in even deeper too. Like maybe he can get closer to.
Yeah,
someone
maybe
more
his
important.
goal isn't just to go to Numenor and kill Numenor. It's to like break the elves, and he thinks she's
That
his
too.
way
It'd be
into
like
the.
like Galadriel will like, hey, here's my Elrond. Here's my friend Halbrand. And,
Yeah, we
like,
kind of joked about
Elrond-
this. Yeah, the other day about how are we gonna get this guy in prison in Numenor to meet Celebrimbor?
Yeah.
So maybe this is his way in, but it's. I mean, this is such a strange plan to meet her by chance on the open sea, save her life, go here, get thrown in jail where she might just like find out because they might have some old tome that describes Sauron or whatever. And anyway, so she is now being banished from the kingdom of Numenor. And so she must take this ship immediately off the island, but she decides that she isn't gonna go yet.
Yeah. She fights them all off and then throws them in the cell, locks them in,
Yeah.
and
No,
escapes.
the thing is, it's really hard to critique a fantasy show, especially a Lord of the Rings styled fantasy show where someone beats multiple enemies like that. I just think it's kind of a weird setup. You know what I mean? Like, I would have rather had her just like be walking to the docks and then use like some like use her skills to like run faster than them and like get away from them. Instead, she fights them in close quarters. She has no weapons,
Hmm.
and she basically throws them. She doesn't even kill them, right? She just like disarms them and throws them in the jail. And then she runs out of the jail, so no one stops her on her way out of jail. And she makes it all the way in to the king's bedroom.
Yes.
Uh,
And the king was an elf lover, and that caused rebellion. We learned that as a background.
Yes. And we also find out that the king is like got severe dementia or something like that. Like, it's implied that he is like really he's no longer there mentally,
Yeah.
because like the queen regent is like really upset at his state, and she's like, if only you knew like what he was going through and what I was going through watching him in this state. So clearly there's something going on in his mind. He's not able to rule, but so, I still don't understand why the queen is still like, so presumably this has been going on for a long time, right? And she still seems upset by it, as if it's like she's finding out that he's got dementia like for the first time. Like, she still seems really emotional about it. So that it's kind of weird to me that she would still be as upset by his state. Like, she's been ruling for so long now. Maybe she's just like she's taking all of her emotions and kind of letting them out whenever she sees her father. But this is where we kind of get a real heart to heart between these two, who have been kind of combatants, where they discuss that there's they have a Palantir, and when they use it, they see the downfall of Numenor and the downfall vision typically starts with Galadriel arriving.
But also, okay, in the subtitles, I saw that the king is named Tar Palantir.
Oh.
Is he the one who made the Palantirs?
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
I believe.
What does he say anything? Like, I wasn't watching with subtitles, so does he actually say something that you can?
Oh, I don't recall.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it wasn't important,
so nothing
but-
important. Now we do get a shot. This is at the 42-minute mark into the episode. There's a shot of a sword. So it's Galadriel in frame on the right of frame, and a sword that looks very similar to Aragorn's sword on the left. It's not the exact same. The handle, the hilt, it's slightly different, but it's got a very similar design to it. I wonder if there is something there, but you know, it could just be that they liked this idea of Galadriel being next to a sword. It is implied that it's an heirloom of the rulers of Numenor because it's on a pedestal. So I don't know if it's supposed to be that sword or if it's supposed to symbolize something else, but I just wanted to point that out. I thought it was neat to include that in this shot. This is right before they reveal the Palantir, and I don't know, like, does it crack when Galadriel touches it a little bit? Is that what happened?
It does, but I think that's just an illusion.
Okay.
I don't think it literally
So
cracked.
that was like just us getting into the like going inside the vision was the cracking.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so Galadriel sees the fall of Numenor. It's revealed that that when the Queen Regent touches it, she sees the same vision, except hers starts with Galadriel arriving. And we know that the leaves falling mean that it's getting closer. And then we are back with Bronwyn and the people of the Southlands.
Yes.
And Theo's friend, what's this guy's name?
Rowan.
He has returned with a wheelbarrow full of food. He is the hero of this town. And unfortunately, though, Theo did not make it.
He was right behind me.
Yeah, so I don't know if the idea is like to blame him or anything for taking off, but like he did the right thing. So the orcs were coming. Theo was stuck in that house. If he had gone in there, he'd be dead. He'd be straight up dead.
Yeah, he got back with the food.
Yeah,
which was the
he's
important
saving an entire group, like a bunch of villages. He's saving them from starvation.
Yeah.
It sucks like he had to leave his friend, but like they were sent on a mission to get food, and he succeeded. And Theo decided to go into that building for some reason.
Which, yeah, they didn't need to.
No, they had tons of food. Theo, like legit, Theo's now, if Theo makes it back from, like, we're at this scene where he's trying to evade all these orcs. If he even makes it back to town.
And now they know he has the sword, and they know that the sword's with him, and it's going to be with all the other humans when they get back. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that comes up at the end.
Now, this is a really dark scene. So when I went to rewatch this episode, I was watching it in the morning, and my room had a lot of light coming in. I couldn't see anything on my second viewing. So this scene you have to watch in darkness. But I think it's actually really well shot. So it's got it's almost like a one shot, almost shaky cam, where Theo is still trying to get food. He's avoiding these orcs that are just roaming around this village and like torching it and like breaking shit. And it's really well choreographed. Like he'll come up to one corner. There'll be an orc that comes out of a room and kind of like breaks something against the wall and then walks off.
Right, I know what you mean. Yeah,
He comes into this clearing and sees orcs fighting. Like it's
there is a question of like, do you think you would have been okay to have just stayed in the well until morning?
Oh, so that's what I was wondering too. So the orcs were like, okay, we got to find this guy. He disappears essentially, right? Like for all they know, he's gone. Why are they still hanging around this town? Like I guess they figured he couldn't have escaped the town, so he must be here somewhere. But like this is just like these orcs have already screwed this up
It is
royally.
almost surprising they haven't looked in the well,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
'Cause-
even a second time.
Yeah,
but-
because it's like, well, like that's just well, and how come none have gone back for another drink? Does each time they go for a drink, they wheel up the bucket, they get a drink, then they throw the bucket back down, it plops him on the head, he goes ow. They then look again.
Oh, there's still no one there.
Yeah, oh, it's a magic well. When you throw the bucket in, it goes ow. Because like that happens the first time, so I'm just assuming it must have happened a couple times. What if he sneezes? What if he coughs or like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's weird that they didn't find him in the well, and it's also weird they didn't move on. Like they have not torched this place. They're starting to. It's nighttime now. Like what were they doing all day? Maybe they're like, oh, we can't leave because it's sunny out, but we're gonna search these houses. I don't know. It just seems like these orcs don't really know what to do right now. Like they're looking for him still. It's nighttime in this village that they've been at all day.
Yeah. Well, anyway, then we get a jump scare.
Yes. This is also weird because like this orc is just hiding behind this wall. I guess it was just he was there and happened to get Theo, but it was almost like he was waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we get this weird, like, so the orc throws him down and is gonna slash him this time, and this time Theo does nothing. Like he doesn't even try to defend himself.
Yeah.
Which I thought, like, he has a sword, a blood activated sword, but he still has a sword. I figured he would use it, but he gets saved by none other than a Rondir who was released from prison.
And we have another callback. They are coming.
Yes. So see, I don't mind some of these callbacks. Some of them are actually work for me because they're within a very similar setting or setup, and so they evoke not only the meaning within the scene itself, but you also get some of that nostalgia, and it kind of brings with it those moments. Some of them work for me, like this one here. I like it, so I'm completely fine with this one. I think this getaway is kind of strange. So Theo has been stabbed, so he's been in well water, bleeding in the well water.
Mm-hmm.
He then climbs out of the well, has this bit of like this kind of cool run around the village with the orcs chasing him. He then gets saved. They're now making a break for it through the woods.
We get that arrow catch.
We get the arrow catch.
It's cool.
It is cool. I do wish this had some more fast motion shots, but the slow mo of him catching the arrow and firing it back is nice. So yeah, I think this is a neat little battle. I would have liked to see some in real time though.
Yeah. And then we get Bronwyn shows up too, and they make it to the opening, and the sunlight comes. They're saved by the
Yes.
sunlight.
Yes. And this is again where people are going to have a lot of things to say. So one of the ones I was thinking of is it would
The
be
orcs could be shooting them better.
well, the orcs could be shooting better, but what I was thinking is right here. So depending on what the sun does to them, if it just hurts them physically, I would assume some orcs would risk it. You know what I mean? Like that is the magic sword that they were sent to get from their father, who they worship. I believe some of these orcs would take the physical pain to be the hero and bring the sword back to Adar. Now, if they get turned to stone or something, like I know how trolls get turned to stone.
They don't think they turn to
No,
stone.
I don't think so either, but I'm just trying to figure out like why none of them ran out into the sunlight. Now, if they die right away from sunlight or something like that, again, maybe they wouldn't sacrifice themselves, but if all it is feeling a bit lightheaded, I think some of them would just charge in there and try to be the hero. But they don't. They get right to the edge of the clearing, and the sun keeps them at bay. It's a neat shot. It's convenient. The sun comes up
Mhm.
just at this moment, but I'll allow it. We've had some convenience before in Lord of the Rings. Why the heck was Bronwyn out here though? I don't understand that. What is
She went to go get her son back.
Yeah, what an
but-
insane idea.
But we got kind of lucky that she just happened to bump into them.
Imagine if Arondir chose to try to kill Adar and failed, or succeeded and then was murdered by the orcs. Bronwyn then goes looking for her son. She goes to this village. They're both captured. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way they're getting out of there without Arondir helping. So
Yeah.
it's just very crazy ideas happening here from all of these characters. But I'm glad we get these two back together because I think we've kept them apart for too long. Like we still don't fully understand their relationship. It's still not fully fleshed out to me. So hopefully we get a lot more of this going forward.
Yep. Now we're back at Khazad-dûm, and Disa is doing that sing. I thought she was doing that sing prospecting thing that they talked about earlier, but
Me
it was actually
too.
it was just a prayer. It was a prayer.
Yeah. I would have liked to see this thing prospecting, to be honest. But yeah, this is just a prayer to the rock to release the dwarves.
And all the dwarves live, and
Yeah.
it's at a big happy face.
Yes, all the dwarves live, which again is, I mean, I don't know why we're so worried about this mithril stuff. So to me, I'm like, okay, hopefully they live because I don't want them dying from mithril for just, you know, like that'd be a shame if Durin the Fourth, who I like, if he sent some dwarves in who died getting mithril because he was worried the elves were going to steal it. That would maybe get him more closed off to Elrond again. So I don't like that. I like them being more friendly. We have enough characters that can hate dwarves and elves. We don't need these two fighting all the time. So I'm glad that they can be happy again. I guess people will be happy that Disa's got like gold mud on her hands, so she got her hands dirty. She's not just a pretty face. She's also a hardworking dwarf. I got a nice freeze frame of it. I'll put it in the video. Yeah, so we get a nice reveal that the dwarves have all been saved.
And Durin walks in. He's kind of mad at his dad for shutting down the mining operation he has for the mithril.
Yeah. Again, I don't understand what's going on here because so Elrond showed up. Then Durin the Fourth spoke with Durin the Third, and Durin the Third said the elves are up to something and they're after our mithril. So then Durin the Fourth decides, I'm gonna go mine more of it. And so he's gonna go send dwarves into a very dangerous part of the mountain to mine it because the elves are after it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just kind of confused as to like what's going on with these dwarves and the mithril. Like wouldn't you just not mine it at all for a little bit while the elves are here? I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
But I think you're using too much logic. It's not that kind of TV show.
I'm just trying to figure out why the dwarves are both afraid the elves want mithril, but then also getting more of it dug up, which only they can dig. So they just leave it in the mountain for a little bit.
No, I remember seeing this old interview of Mark Hamill, and they apparently when they get out of the trash compactor, they're completely clean.
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill complained. He's like, "Shouldn't I have like some dirt on me?" And Harrison Ford just says to him, "It's not that kind of movie, kid." So that's what I'm saying. It's just not that kind of show.
Yeah. It's like I saw this is a joke interview, but it's I think it was Ian McKellen or someone, and it's like whenever there's a plot hole, a wizard did it.
Yeah.
Like if something happens, or like yeah, if you come out of the trash compactor and you're clean, a wizard gave you a magic cleaning spell. Like that's how you explain any plot hole in a fantasy film. But for me, I think there is something here that the dwarves are scheming. My worry is, or my wonder is, the mithril, they know that it's very strong, and so they want to make it into weapons. Are they trying to build up weapons quick enough to fight elves because they think the elves might become, like, you know what I mean? And maybe that's why they feel like they need to rush this mithril production. But either way, we get to see during the third again, which I'm glad because
Well, you have to we have to do the okay. So I mean, we hear a bit more about Elrond's father, and Elrond counsels Durin to reconcile with his dad.
that's right. That's right. We actually get a nice touching moment there,
Yeah.
where he basically
Uh,
says, regardless of whether or not my father was angry with me or proud of me, I would rather be able to talk to him than only be able to wonder what he thinks of me because he's dead. So I think that's a nice touch where you can see Elrond is starting to understand the the nature of other beings, where like most elves probably don't have to worry about that kind of thing happening because they're immortal, but dwarves have to worry about it, humans have to worry about it. So it's a nice moment to see Elrond is progressing.
Elrond weirdly does have. I mean,
Yeah,
Elrond's in some weird. It's not weird. Weird's the wrong word, but unique circumstances,
that's
and
right.
that his brother was mortal. His daughter ends up being mortal, at least in Peter Jackson,
Yeah.
and his father ends up leaving forever to go shepherd a
Yes.
star. So he's kind of gone.
Well, so this is a question here, and I know we're kind of off topic. We're talking dwarves, but are they dead when they go to Valinor? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know they don't come back, but it's an honor to go there. But then what happens there? Like, even in Tolkien's writings, it's not exactly clear what goes on there. In the show, it seems like Elrond views his father as dead when his father was given a great honor to continue shepherding stars. So it's kind of confusing um, to understand what the elves go through. Because like you said, Elrond is in a strange circumstance. He is one of the rare children of a very rare union of a human and an elf. He happened to get more elf in him, I guess.
Well, he apparently they were given a choice. El-
Oh,
Elrond
okay,
chose to be more elvish, and Elros chose to be human.
gotcha.
And that's a conundrum. I don't know why you would choose to be human, but I'm sure there's a deeper
There
thing here.
maybe I'll throw in. There's a nice quote from the movie Troy that I could throw in there. That the quote is, "The gods envy us because every moment might be our last."
Well, maybe. I mean, an elf can still die. I mean,
That's yeah. So it doesn't quite fit. But
yeah.
at least you never know, like, if you might get sick, or if you might, like, when you're old, you don't know when you're gonna die. So like you cherish each of those moments more, and it's something that Elrond kind of is starting to realize, that like when you see your friends, um, you know, and you leave for 20 years, like you don't get that time back. As elves, you don't care because you could hang out whenever you want for eternity. But with dwarves, like you've missed a huge chunk of Durin's life that Durin can never share with you.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I'm kind of confused about the elf stuff. Maybe they'll get into it, but yeah, we're back with these dwarves, and I'm really liking a lot of. I mean, I know this show is supposed to, it's supposed to be all crazy and woke, but I think they've given a lot of great lines.
Oh, there's
to,
also comic relief. There's because Disa asked out how Elrond and Durin met,
Oh yes,
and
so
Durin.
this is the moment where I was told this is too much like Gimli and Legolas.
Oh, I thought that was hilarious though. I liked it.
I
I
liked it
mean,
too, but I can see here, because this is definitely something a Gimli Legolas thing would happen if they like met up with Aragorn, like years later, and everyone is like, "How was your travels?" And like, Gimli's like, "Oh, I saved Legolas from all these trolls," and Legolas is like, "That's not how I remember it. I remember saving you." And it's like, it also has a feel of like the Star Wars banter that you get when it was like Obi-Wan fell into a Snarlack or no something pit, and Anakin's like, as I recall, Master, I rescued you from that pit or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So it has that kind of element to it as well, but it definitely does have a fun like who killed more of these things. It's got like that kind of levity, but also like a friendly rivalry, not like there's no animosity there. It's just kind of fun. I liked it, but I can definitely see the parallels building between Legolas.
Yeah,
and Gimli.
maybe I don't mind that parallel though.
I don't mind it either. I actually think this show kind of needs that because right now, a lot of characters are on their own. Even Galadriel with Halbrand, that's not even a grouping. Like they're not together. So we really have nobody. Nobody's with anybody. Everyone's by themselves, trying to do their own thing. Elrond is the only one trying to do anything.
You're actually completely right.
With people. Elendil is also trying. He's trying to get his children to work together and to be normal children. So poor Elendil. So this is what I'm trying to say is that so we get the comedic relief, but then we get here and I think people are just sleeping on this. A lot of the great lines and the great character plots, like characters that have a purpose, are given to these male rulers, which is definitely not just straight up woke. I mean, you've got Durin the Third here. He is in charge. We thought it was Durin the Fourth when we first meet him. It is his father. His father is smart and is able to think through a plan. He basically is like, I'm fine with you being friends with Elrond because I don't think Elrond is the problem. It's Celebrimbor that might be the problem. So you're gonna have to go and kind of figure out if we can trust Celebrimbor. He is put together. He does not hate his son for going out on his own to try to mine Mithril. Like he's understanding of it. He has a great line about how it's said when the crown passes to the next king that king can hear all the voices of the previous kings giving him counsel and wisdom, and you won't have to wait for that day to listen to me or to hear me. And I thought that was a great line. Like there is some good dialogue here. That's why it's so frustrating when we hear the silly dialogue that doesn't make any sense. But I really like this character. I thought I wasn't going to like him because we got that snapshot of him kind of being, mischievous or like secretive. And he's like, we can't let the elves know about this. And he's like, oh, it's Mithril probably. Or it's the Arkenstone or something. But now that we know what it is, Mithril, and we know that Elrond doesn't care, all that tension's gone. But this king is still like, he's like, no, we need to go about this in a more structured way. We can't just kind of go gallivanting off with Elrond here. We need to make sure that Celebrimbor is also on the up and up. I like this character. I think it's a smart way to do business with the elves. So yeah, I'm on board with this character, and I think he is the smartest dwarf right now. So he's got that going for him. I think Elendil is the smartest Numenorian right now. So yeah. I really like this scene. I hope we get more of this guy.
Yeah. But yeah, so they established that Durin the Fourth will go to Lindon with Elrond.
Yes.
All right. So Arondir finally gets to deliver the message.
That's right.
To Bronwyn. They're back at the tower now.
Yes.
And it's kind of generic.
Yeah.
your people may live as long as you forsake your claim to the land and swear fealty to Adar.
Yes. And I'm guessing some people don't have a problem with that.
Oh yeah, and is Waldreg a bad guy now?
I don't know. I really like this character, but I don't know. I mean, so there was that scene. You pointed this out initially when the old knife ears scene, when that guy slams his cup down. He's like, knife ears, and then he comes up to him and he goes to punch him. The Arondir blocks the punch. That punch seemed almost like not out of frustration that this guy was being a racist, but almost out of frustration of like, stop it, you're giving away too much. You've said too much about who actually owns this land. So that was my thought
About the
too.
king coming back.
About the king coming back. Yeah, like that's when the punch came. It wasn't knife ears. It was when he started talking about one day our king will come back and lift us up from underneath your boot or something like that. And that's when the punch comes. And obviously everyone is supposed to take it as, oh, this guy doesn't like racists in his bar, when really it's like, we're all racist. Don't tell the elf that. So anyway, I really hope we get more of this guy. I was really bummed that that we didn't get enough of him before. So I like this character. Even if he turns out to be evil, I think he's a well done character.
He talks about the hilt and he shows his forearm to
Yes.
Theo, because he's been using it too.
So well, now we know who's. Remember, we were kind of questioning like, whose barn is this? It's this guy's barn. He knew what he had. He knows what this sword is. So for all we know, he was gonna give it to the orcs. But he couldn't. He didn't know who he could trust. He couldn't just go, "Oh, we're gonna join the orcs." But yeah, I like this scene because this scene is cryptic. It gives us a bit of detail, not too much. Like
he mentions the starfall.
That's right.
As being a sign of Sauron returning.
That's right. And this is also where we get the "you know of what I speak" line.
Yeah.
Which, so here's the question. I like, sometimes I like the callbacks, sometimes the callbacks make no sense or silly. In this scene, how do you like that callback? It's
blended into me.
Yeah.
I didn't actually make a note of it.
Yeah, so it to me it's a nice subtle one. I really like the showing the forearm. It's almost like a dark mark in a way, like I can see you've used the sword too thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why they keep jabbing into their forearms like that. Like,
well, it's like they're both junkies.
That's what that's what it looked like to me. I mean,
I have all these needle marks too.
Yeah, like, why do you keep jabbing it into your forearms where it looks all weird? Just like, you know what I mean? Like, there's other body places, like body parts, you can kind of get some blood out without making it look so obvious that you're using this evil demon sword. Yeah, so they reveal their markings, and yeah, he's basically grabs him. He tells him what he knows of the sword. Or he's like asking him, like, do you know what that is? Do you know whose sword that is? So we don't quite know what the deal is here, because I don't think he's, because he tells him to beware of the sword. Like he warns him. So I don't know if he's evil, if he is tempted by the sword. Like, I just don't know what to think of this guy.
It's really hard. Like I should go back and listen to what he says and try to figure it out. But yeah, I can't tell if he's evil.
Well, yeah, like, I've watched it twice now, and I like, he definitely comes off over the top, kind of in your face creepiness here, where he like grabs the kid's arm and he's like, beware the sword. It's there's a lot of warning there, but is it warning like don't touch the sword, it's bad for you, or is it warning like, you know, it only has one master, and you know, even if we want to go back to joining with Sauron, the sword will corrupt you and you'll die I don't know. So I don't know what's going on with this guy. I really like the actor. I don't know who this guy is. I really like this actor. I think he does a tremendous job. So I was hoping he would kind of become the leader of this band of people. He kind of seemed to be the leader of the town.
He kind of is the leader too. I mean, Bronwyn wants to be the leader, but he seems like he's the leader.
He seems like it, but then he was also the leader that said, "You're not cutting my rations." And any leader that has to say, "You're not cutting my rations," is no true leader. That was a bit too forced. Anyway,
I cut my rations. Or he is the leader. Or he's like, well, I'm the leader. You're not. My rations aren't getting cut.
Yeah. So then we get
But it actually gives me some sympathy though, because when they went back they went into his cellar to get the food.
yeah.
All that food they brought back is his.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
They're all mooching off him.
Well, I mean, he was a tavern owner.
Mhm.
So, like that food was for other people that he was gonna sell. But yeah, I see your point. Like he essentially had a nice stockpile of food ready to go, and he's essentially sharing it with these people at this. But the other thing is he didn't have access to that food, right? He left it. So now that someone's brought it, yes, it was his food, but like
Now it's
I almost view that as like once you leave that food at that town, you know the town's going to be like burned to the ground. So
yeah.
so the food is going to be wasted. Like you've essentially like lost the food. Anyway, I do think he is a bit of the leader. I think you're right, but it's not clear yet who the leader is. I think Arondir might take over because he's an elf, but we might see some nice elf human, animosity there again because now he doesn't have his group of elves with him. So there's no like if say they kill him, the only person upset is Bronwyn. Right? Like nobody's gonna
literally. Yeah.
nobody's gonna care. The son doesn't care. Most of the townspeople don't care. I think this guy probably is evil, so he might not care. So but yeah, so I think that's all we see of them, and then we go to Galadriel, and we get this really weird like reverse storytelling, where the voiceover dialogue is saying essentially like Galadriel's banished, right? Like so she's like walking to this ship.
Well, okay, actually, I do have one other point.
Okay.
I said the orcs. There's explicit mention the orcs know the hilt is in the tower.
Yes,
And
that's right.
is it just because I in hindsight I'm like, no, they know just because that's where they went, right? But part of me was like, yo, Waldreg's a spy and he reported to the orcs that he's seen the
Oh,
hilt.
that's pretty good. Yeah, because it's not clearly established that the orcs were able to follow them across that field and know exactly where they're going. They might just be assuming it, but they tell Adar as if they know for certain. So
Yeah.
I feel like they would not lie to Adar like that. Like I think you're
Yeah.
right. They might actually have a spy. I mean, I still think the guy that called him knife ears is for sure on the orcs team. So, yeah. So yeah, you're right. We might have a spy in our midst. But yeah, then we get Galadriel leaving, and it's got this weird like she's getting on this.
Yeah, they're standing in a boat again. Those elves always like standing in their boats.
They do, don't they? This is something that people have pointed out to me is that like just sit down. You're gonna rock the boat. But no, these new Numenorians, they know what they're doing. Their ships have a nice wide bottom. I think he can stand in them. They're like pontoon boats. But yeah, but like the weird thing about this shot is it's a weird fake out for the audience. So you've got this weird she's walking onto this rowboat. They're slowly rowing her away, probably out to a larger ship, because someone pointed out there's no way they're rowing to Middle Earth. But then you get this look between Galadriel and the Queen Regent, and it's not one of like friendship. It's not one of like finally we understand each other. You know what I mean? Like it's not like that. It's as if like you are banished and go now. Do not come back. We then find out that that's not the case. That by talking with the Queen has agreed to send troops to Middle Earth.
I don't think she agrees though until she sees the tree petals falling, and then
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
The tree petals fall, which symbolizes the Valar crying. So she takes that as an omen that they need to help.
Oh, wait. What? So wait, you're saying that she was initially banished.
Yeah.
So like the scene here that she's getting rowed away, the Queen had basically banished her. She's like, "We're not helping you." But then on her way back to the castle, a petal falls on her, and then she decides, "Oh, we gotta help." Is that?
That's what I took it to mean. Yes.
See, I took this to mean that the petals falling are like they've been falling for a little bit. I just figured that they're just normal falling, and we as the audience know that Galadriel is not evil; it's something else. So I just thought it was like kind of like a dramatic irony. But maybe you're right. I did not view that scene like that at all. I thought she at the whole time was like, no, we're gonna help them. It's just I want to make this scene dramatic. I hope you're right, because your way at least makes more sense. Kind of. It's still a very strange way to make decisions. Like you've made this decision, you've banished her. On your way back to the castle, a petal falls on you. She looks at it, and then her next thought is, we must send reinforcements.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this. You can make the same argument for Theoden, right? Because Theoden is like, why should we help Gondor? They didn't help us. And so you're like, oh shoot, this guy straight up he's not gonna care about Gondor. And then when the beacons are lit, there's no reason for him to change his mind other than he knows what's right, which is what I've always gone with. Because Aragorn doesn't change his mind. Like Aragorn just comes in and says, Gondor calls for aid. And it's him, in that moment deciding we will help. So maybe that's what happens here. It's very strange to me. I don't quite get it. But you're right. She does stop and look at these petals, and she gets this worried look on her face. So maybe that is the case.
Yeah. So then she gives a speech asking for people to volunteer, and then Isildur's friends volunteer, followed by Isildur, and then there's the crowd. The broader crowd starts to volunteer.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. Like, who cares if Isildur? You know what I mean? Like, he's done nothing but been bad on ships lately. Why would we care if? I mean, I guess his father has some some clout here, but him alone should be able to muster some people from the crowd. So yeah, Isildur joins up. His sister looks worried, not really sure what's going on here. But then everyone kind of raises their hand, and I made this joke in real time as I was watching, but like nobody said raise your hand. The task was step forward if you will come with me. Not.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so he's like, anyone who's gonna come with us, step forward, and then Isildur's two friends raise their hands, and then Isildur raises his hand, and then everyone raises their hand. And like, he said, "Step forward." Why are we raising our hands? So
because it would. I mean, at the same time, it would be pretty goofy if Muriel said, "Okay, everyone, raise your hands." It's not elementary school.
Yeah, and some of the people raise their hands in a very shady way, if you catch my drift.
I do. Now that you're saying it.
Yeah, you're right. She can't just say raise your hands, but still, step forward. I actually kind of like the imagery of people stepping forward, like they are actually making the first step in their journey. Like there's a poetry there. Raising their hands, like it's just kind of bizarre. Like Isildur's two friends can raise their hands because they're kind of goofy. Like they're like, "Oh, me, I'll go." Like, okay, these two idiot kids. But then everyone raises their hands. I figured some of the people in the front would just step forward. I don't know, but yeah, that's the last scene of the episode. That about wraps it up. Any last thoughts on this one?
No Harfoots this week.
No Harfoots. And people do not like the Harfoots.
I think a lot of people are relieved by that. I'm interested in the Stranger story.
I am too, and I do think there is a neat idea there at the center of Harfoot culture. It's just not. They have kind of messed it up with this whole leaving behind thing. But the idea of them hiding in plain sight, I really like that. Like, I think it works for for a story that potentially isn't supposed to have hobbits or Harfoots in it. The fact that they are in it, but you just don't notice them, I think that kind of makes it work. But this whole idea, their culture is just really screwed up right now. And people don't like the accents as well. So yeah, Harfoots are having a tough go right now. But we got more dwarves, which is good. I really miss the dwarves.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
So all in all, I think there's still something missing from a lot of these storylines. Like there's no real like.
I kind of want, because I mean now I've been digging more into the lore, and Gil-galad is like the king of the elves. Is such an important figure, yet he's a real side character here.
Yes.
He's
Well,
kind of
actually,
goofy too.
and there's a moment where I don't know how to like frame this properly, but essentially, so Galadriel's talking to the queen, and Galadriel is like, I too understand what it's like to have nobody believe you and no one listen to you and all this stuff. And so she's basically saying like, I'm the only one that knows about Sauron. But we as the audience know that that's not true. Gil-galad knows. Or he suspects it's true. He just doesn't want her doing it. So there's a bit of a mixed message there in that Galadriel, while she thinks she's doing it for the, like she thinks she's doing right and good by her brother, and like avenging her brother and saving the elves, she's disobeying her king. She is doing stuff on her own without consulting anyone, and she's really bad at a lot of things, from sailing to political intrigue.
Right, and that's a good. I mean, it's not like they just wrote a bad character, because it's acknowledged. Like Halbrand's calling her out on her being
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. So there's a character arc here. It's like hopefully she kind of develops into someone more likable.
Right.
Because she's not likable right now.
No, she's not. In fact, like if they were trying to target people to rally behind her the way they would rally behind Aragorn or Sam or heck,
No one's
even-
going to. They're
No,
gonna be like,
right now I really like. I'm fine with her on the screen. It's not that I don't like the actress. I just the character. I don't care what she has to say because I think she's dumb. Like I just don't. I don't listen to her. I would much rather listen to Gil-galad or Elendil or Durin the Third. Like I like those characters because they seem to get it, even if they're wrong. Like I think Durin the Third is wrong to mistrust the elves. Even if he's wrong, at least his character, he's coming from a place of logic and reason. Galadriel's just, I don't know where she would have gotten this idea to just run around, being mean to people, running into Numenor and then just like insulting everyone. Like you said, Halbrand calls her out. It's like you literally just walked up, insulted the queen, insulted Numenor, say you owe me everything. I built this place. Like you basically went out and said, this is my home. You're living in my house. Like it's so bad. Don't do that. And she's like,
she's completely naive to like.
She's
why
like,
they're
what do
even
you?
mad at her, too.
Yeah, what do you mean? But with the elves, we did give them that island. That is my island. Like screw these people. Like you're not even listening to Halbrand, who might be Sauron. He's trying to help you. Sauron is trying to teach Galadriel how to be nice. Get. So that's where like you're right. They are clearly building to something because they're calling it out. Now, the queen is also someone that might be badly written. I don't know because we're not really calling it out yet. But she's also kind of strange, and
she has this. It's not a tick. I think she's. I think the actress, like this, is how they're told her to play the character, but she really flares her nostrils a lot.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's
she
interesting.
she gets angry. Like she's like she
Oh,
kind
okay.
of gets angry and she flares her nostrils, and like Elendil was she got mad at Elendil for making a comment at one point
Yeah.
too. Yeah, it was. But she's kind of got. Yeah, she's not as bad as Galadriel.
No,
but
she's not.
But she's not that likable either.
As far as likable female renegade characters go, I would have to think Nori is probably.
I like her. I know a lot of people don't.
I do like her too. I think she's they've written her character in a way that it's believable enough that a Harfoot would rebel in this way, and the way she goes about it, while misguided, does come from a place of wanting to know more and wanting to learn, whereas Galadriel is just antagonistic to every single person she meets. Even Elrond, when she first meets Elrond, she's like, why am I even talking to you? You're not the king. It's like, what? He's your best friend. That's how you treat your best friend after not seeing him for like 200 years. Like, are you kidding me, Galadriel? What is wrong with you? This is why you're being sent away. Because you are going to just blunder around the world doing this to people, and no one likes it. Like, at least Nori seems like if she were to encounter someone and accidentally insult them, she would apologize. Galadriel's like, I'm not apologizing for the truth. The facts don't care about your feelings, Numenor. Yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting choice to make Galadriel so hostile to start with. Hopefully they can bring it around. I mean, I really love good redemption arcs, and Galadriel needs one for this, because if this character is going to end up being the person to essentially help the Fellowship on their journey, and the grace in which she performs that, this is not the same person yet. Like, there's a long way to go to get to that. So I'm excited to keep it going. I want to see what happens next, but I do have some concerns, which I think we'll address in the next video. Comment your thoughts and questions about what you think we will see down below. What do you want to see in this next episode? Also, what do you think of the previous episode and this teaser? Thank you for all the love recently, and I'll see you in the comment section.